I was actually at the world premiere of this opera in 2000. I used to work for the San Francisco Opera while the piece was being commissioned and being written, and so I was fortunate enough to see it opening night. And since then, I have seen many productions of it, and I just came from directing it a couple of weeks ago.
I first performed the work in St. Louis with Union Avenue Opera in 2011.
For me, the important thing was understanding what it's like to grow up in the circumstances that Joseph Desrochers would have grown up in. How the criminal justice system works, what it's like to be engaged in it in that way, what it's like to be on death row, what it's like to be incarcerated. The thing that I learned from visiting Angola, it was transformative. It was very, very overwhelming. I mean, there was the character research part, but then there was like just like what it taught me about life.
Kind of, it's funny, there's a sort of just the facts man kind of thing, and you don't know if that's because of the way Sister Helen sort of helped you lay it out in terms of what would be the important things to say in this circumstance. But there is also some, there was drugs and some crime involved. I believe there was a woman and a child.
Yeah, there's a point where she's not part of his life.
She's not part of his life. It's just this.
And that's what it all turned around.
This is a very human opera, so we've tried to really take advantage of the intimacy of this space. The piece is really about human relationships. It's specifically about parents and children, and about friendship, and about redemption.
He left school in the 9th grade. He went with a bad crowd. There were drugs and some crime involved.
We've also tried to really take the tactic that this is Sister Helen's journey, so we follow her through the piece. She's very clearly its protagonist, and literally the piece is structured as a journey. We follow her from Hope House in New Orleans to the prison, and then deeper and deeper and deeper inside the prison, as she becomes sort of more lost spiritually and not knowing what she's doing there and whether or not she can handle this. And as she sort of finds her footing and eventually discovers what it is she needs to do for Joseph Desrochers.
Knowing Jake really informs how I sing the music, and I got to know Sister Helen as well, so that informs my character enormously. Having the opportunity to be so close to the people who have made this opera is an invaluable experience. I mean, how much could we have gained knowing Puccini if you were singing Bohème? It's an incredible gift of contemporary opera to be able to call a composer or the protagonist that you're singing and say, what was happening in this moment emotionally? What motivated you to write the melody this way? Why is this leitmotif repeated? Why did you go and see Joseph Desrochers, the composite character? What was motivating you in those moments? That's something that you don't get to do with our classic operas. The second he feels that vulnerability, he puts up that, and then we have that little push in the scenes.
Yeah, and in a way, you only earn his respect by screaming back at him. Forget that I'm a nun does you more good than being nice to him.
Yeah.
Jake writes for the voice beautifully, and Jake is the most accessible of modern composers. And actually, he was given an injunction by Sister Helen Prejean when she gave him the rights to turn her book, her best-selling book, into an opera. She said, of course we're going to do an opera, but I got to tell you one thing. She said, I don't want it to be some of that atonal modern music that distances the audience, and so they won't like the story and they won't like the piece. You got to write tonal music for this, Jake. When the audience leaves the theater, they better be able to hum a tune. And Jake took her at her word, and the piece is beautiful, and it's lyrical, and it has moments of intense beauty and moments of intense drama.
My goal for an opera performance is that afterwards people they're outside of themselves, that they're not walking away thinking about, the music was so well executed, and what wonderful voices and stuff like that. I really want to bring them to a more transformative experience.
Yeah, these are all, breaking moments for my artistic life, and certainly for an audience member who may not be able to get to the other cities where it's being performed. So how nice that we're able to do it in smaller communities with an incredible cast and a new production, and it's a beautiful work and it needs to be seen.